Okay, YouTubers, sorry about the high beam, but I just want this light. I'm wearing a headlamp so I can get you guys some good details. On the differences, this here is the Intermountain Tier 4 Gevo. Now if you look, Intermountain has real chains here. Real chains. Sorry about that, but they have real chains here, little springs. Excellent detail. Now, on my first video, I promised I'd do a side-by-side, and this is somewhat of a side-by-side. I'm not going to take them off the track or anything like that. But up until now, until this light I just put on here, I did not notice that these grills on the Intermountain, you can look through the inside there and see the cross bracings. Now, it looks like a much tighter mesh, and I'm not sure if it's completely see-through or if they just did that to make it look like that. Now, I don't know. Let me get the light off of the ScaleTrains a little bit. ScaleTrains, there's the BNSF. Now, without the lighting, you can see through there into the ScaleTrains. You can see all the way through. But the mesh is nowhere near as tight as the Intermountain. This is the Intermountain. I don't know if I misspoke and said it was the ScaleTrains, but this is the one on the outside rails are the Intermountain. The one on the second line in, that there is the ScaleTrains. Now ScaleTrains opted to use plastic chain. I don't know if you can see that. Sorry about the brightness of the light. But let me get the phone out of the way there. So you can see the ScaleTrains used a plastic chain that's segmented, and then you have the other part there, which I don't know if you can see it. It sticks out. It's don't even look connected. But like I said, you can see through the grills. If you look there, you can see the fan housings inside. You cannot do that on the Intermountain, but you can see the cross members on the inside of the Intermountain. So I haven't had to shell off these yet, so I'm going to look inside to see exactly how see-through these are. But as far as details, scale wise, so far, Intermountain with the real chains definitely has took this. I know my first video I said that I thought ScaleTrains hands down had Intermountain. Even though I said they were a close run, after having 5 of each of the models, 5 ScaleTrains and 5 Intermountain, I gotta tell you, Intermountain's consistency is much better. Also, Intermountain, much better tint on the windows. ScaleTrains, it doesn't look very tinted. Another thing I noticed between the two is if you look at the size of the numbers on the rear of the ScaleTrains on the Norfolk Southern, and then let's look at the scale, the size of the numbers on the back of the Intermountain. They are definitely two different sizes of numbers there. Let me get in there so you can see. You know, it's not an optical illusion, but the sizes of the numbers is most definitely different compared to the size on the Intermountain. Now, I don't have the specs on the actual size of the numbering. If anybody out there has that, and maybe we could get a better see of who is closer to scale as far as the size of the numbers goes. But from videos of the actual tier 4s that I've watched, on YouTube, it looks to me as Intermountain is closer to the correct sizing. Also, the MU hoses and things on the back of Intermountain. You know, the silver tips, top and bottom, very, very nice touch. You know, they use the real chain on the bottom. I wish they'd have used it on the hand railings as well. Sorry about me and my camera. Actually, my phone. As far as sound goes, also I'd have to give that to Intermountain. Theirs has a more bassy sound. Sounds more like a locomotive when you blow the horn and it's headed towards you. Now, like I said in my first video, I've never been a fan of Intermountain. I had a lot of problems with their first Gevos, you know, the Norfolk Southern Heritage units, and I was very disappointed with them. So I, you know, stopped buying Intermountain, but they won me back. Now another thing, you ain't gonna be able to tell with my bright light on here, but the front handrails on the Norfolk Southerns are not painted, but you know, the ones closest to the body. You can't see it with this lighting I'm using, but in my first video, if you look at that, you'll see that, and that's on all of the Norfolk Southern engines. They all have unpainted handrails that are closest to the body. Also, the ditch lights on the ScaleTrains and the headlights, they suck. They're terrible. The ditch lights are dim. You know, I've saw a couple of videos where people say that they're actually tubed in. I'm not sure. I haven't really got to that point of it to find out. But disappointing, the lighting. Intermountain, beautiful, beautiful lighting. Beautiful, bright, crisp, bright headlights, and ditch lights. Far, far superior, in my opinion, than the ScaleTrains. So Intermountain, in my opinion, has won that as well. Now, if you look at the stair painting, okay, very crisp on ScaleTrains. I give that to them. They did great. Very crisp painting. Intermountains, a little sloppy. Looks like the labeling sizes between ScaleTrains and Intermountain are a little different. That's the ScaleTrain or Intermountain label right there, and that's the ScaleTrains. So I'm not sure who's correct on the size of that as well. I mean, ScaleTrains to me is shooting for scale proportions, so they may be closer, they may not. Also, the antennas on the top. This is the Intermountain, and this is the ScaleTrains. It looks like the skates on the ScaleTrains are bigger than the skates on the Intermountain. See, skates on the Intermountain right here. The skates on ScaleTrains. So there are some obvious differences between the two models. Now, again, like I said, I don't want to knock ScaleTrains. They did a wonderful job on the trains, and so did Intermountain. Intermountain upped their game. Amazing weight to these locomotives. Now, I will tell you another thing I noted. You know, the size difference between Intermountain and, let me get the light on there, ScaleTrains. Obviously, much different size. there in detail as well. So, like I said, I don't have all the specs to say who's right and who's wrong. Um, you know, those are just some obvious differences that I've noticed. I'm using my iPhone here, folks, so forgive me for all the, the jittery and the movement and all that stuff. Now, if I had to rate these two locomotives now, after looking at how clean the windshield looks on Intermountain, and then, the ScaleTrains, in my opinion, it doesn't set in. You can see the edges of the windshields. It's a real hard toss up. I mean, this is the top of Intermountain. Nice details, nice details, nice details. And then you're going to go over here, the top of ScaleTrains. Obviously, ScaleTrains looks a little more detailed. Certain aspects of the locomotive. Both of them brought a phenomenal product to the table. Like I said, I'm happy with both of them. Another thing I did notice, now my Intermountains, I had a problem with the Tier 4s from Intermountain before. It just seemed like they were real loose and wobbly on the chassis. And I kind of like they would lean to one side or the other. You do not have that now with Intermountain. Actually, they're a lot more rigid, which I love. I think it's amazing. But the line that I had the ScaleTrains on, the Intermountain, the lead loco kept derailing. Right up there, I got a little tiny, the tiniest bump in the track, and it continued to derail. Now, the Intermountain continued to derail. There was nothing I could do to rectify that problem. But I put the ScaleTrains on there, and it navigates it without any problem. It seems like the trucks have a little more play in the ScaleTrains. But again, kudos to both of these makers. But right now, this is my, I've had, both makers' engines now for a couple of weeks. And in my opinion, I gotta give it to Intermountain. These guys, like I said, they did phenomenal. ScaleTrains, they come with the sunshades and all that already pre-attached. Intermountain does not. I still have not put all the ones on the Intermountain yet. I did put one set on the 3614, but I still need to go through and put them on all the remaining engines. But like I said, both makers did a phenomenal job as far as bringing a beautiful product to the table. But if I have to give it to anyone, the only thing, in my opinion, Intermountain could have did better was left the stack open up here. I don't know if let me get you over here. That is the ScaleTrains. You can see in it now. This is Intermountain. It's just blacked out. They could have did a better job and just made that thing open. But like I said, both of them have their good and their bad aspects. Now back here, if you look in the windshield there, they have the camera and the ScaleTrains version. Intermountain did not put the cameras in there. So just little details here and there. But as far as overall, who really brought it, I think Intermountain wins this, man. They got amazing LEDs, amazing. I mean, the lighting looks amazing when the lights are out. it really looks like, you know, a train does when it's coming down the tracks. You know, the rails are glowing, and you know, it's really hard to get that effect with the ScaleTrains. Like I said, I'm not sure. I haven't took the shells off any of them yet to see, you know, what everyone's talking about with the tubing and stuff being blocking the light, but that most definitely is nowhere near the quality of lighting that the Intermountain has. I don't want to, you know, continue to, you know, bang on each of these engines. I just promised that I'd give you guys an update, and I'm looking at the time now, and we're already, you know, 15 minutes in. So, you know, my opinion, Intermountain won this one. They, like I said, they could have did some things better. ScaleTrains could have did some things better. But if I had to give someone the title for best Tier 4 so far, it would definitely be Intermountain. Way to go, Intermountain. You guys really stepped your game up. I'm really happy with your product, and I hope you do a second and third run of these things. Absolutely amazing. I can't wait to own some more of them. All right, guys. Well, you know, I hope this review helps a little bit. Like I said, each one of these makers have their, you know, strong points. But in my opinion, for the better model right now, it would go to Intermountain. They absolutely killed it with this. Wonderful representation of the Tier 4. And like I said, the real chains and all that, I mean, it's just amazing when you compare apples to oranges. You know, you see all the extra effort that they put into it. I'm very impressed. Very impressed. Like I said, Tier 4, you know, they did a lot of good things, you know, but, you know, Intermountain has the walkway light and all that stuff. I mean, they kick butt. Let's give them the credit they deserve. Like I said, way to go, Intermountain. You guys won this one, man, in my opinion. Thanks, everybody. Please comment and let me know what you think.